You know you're meant for more, but you're playing small. It drives you insane. You look around and see other people breaking records in their business, making way more money than they ever have, working less, feeling more fulfilled, feeling healthier, and not creating a cage for themselves like most business owners do. And you wonder to yourself, how the hell do I get there? Most advice you'll see on social media about playing bigger is very vague. Stop hiding. Be kind to yourself. Get in the flow of abundance. But what does that really mean? And does it account for the sometimes tumultuous and not always sexy journey of learning to trust yourself and actually playing bigger? If you don't know who I am, hi, my name's Nicholas Bueno. I currently run a marketing coaching offer that helps online coaches and consultants. Yeah, I'm that guy who coaches coaches, who coach coaches, who coach coaches, who coach coaches, and I'm fucking proud of it. The unique mechanism of my offer is helping coaches and consultants add 10 to 20K a month with their video content by creating unique ideas and doing inner work. This is direct counter positioning against most of what I see in the market where everybody's obsessed with AI, posting more content, or obsessing over every single word in their video, hoping that these are the keys to unlock the magical riches of the algorithms. But it's not. Playing small is something I've done for a large portion of my life, and a lot larger than I'd like to admit, if I'm being completely honest. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you specifically can play bigger to the goals you have set for yourself, especially with what I've learned building my own current offer, understanding what the landscape is going to look like when you commit to not hiding and to stop minimizing yourself, and how the trajectory of your life is actually going upwards, even if it feels like you've hit rock bottom or the pits of hell. Thing number one, this is really, really crucial and a big reason why so many people are content with playing small, even if it's driving them fucking mental. You need to be willing to let go of things in your current life and go backwards for a brief period of time. There's this great book on negotiation by this guy who used to work for the FBI. His name's Chris Voss. The book is called Never Split the Difference. And in it, he talks about the most powerful person in a negotiation is the one who's willing to walk away with absolutely nothing. Your life, your business, and your results work the exact same way. If you're too attached to the things you have in your life right now, if you're too attached to certain results or things needing to look a certain way, you will not get to your goals. What got you to where you are now in your life is not going to be what gets you to the next level. Think about it like this. If you're learning to win gold at the 100-meter dash in the Olympics, you're not going to start crawling, which is what you did as a child before you started walking. What got you from literally rolling around on the floor as a baby to walking was learning how to crawl and learning how to get up on 2 feet. That is not going to help you win gold at the Olympics in the 100-meter dash. What opened my eyes to different ways of living and abundance was getting jobs in social media because I wanted to fuel the stand-up comedy dream. This helped me make, I was in 2021, early 2021 when I did this. I was making like 70K Canadian a month, which at the time is probably closer to like 90K. It was great money for somebody in their early 20s. I was able to move to Toronto and I was able to do as much stand-up comedy as I wanted because that was my number one focus in life. I had a job that paid me remote. I could live anywhere in the world. I'm gonna go out and do as much stand-up in Toronto as I can, improve my network, improve my skills, get out to more clubs. This is what's going to help me be a pro stand-up comedian. And I didn't know this at the time, but getting that marketing job and staying on this path and wanting to live in Toronto and wanting to live remote is exactly what put me on the path I'm in now. And in order to get to the next level past what I was doing in stand-up and eventually start and build my agency to multiple 6 figures, I had to quit stand-up. That was not the most fun realization at the time when I came face to face with it. It was something I wrestled with for a couple months, but ultimately did so because I had to get clear on what I really wanted. I wanted time, schedule, and location freedom more than I wanted to get paid in chicken fingers doing open mics and stand-up comedy in Canada. The stand-up comedy circuit was such that you're not new until you're 10 years in, and nobody starts treating you kind of seriously till you're 5 years in. I was 4 years into my stand-up career when I quit, and I was already starting to make 10K a month as a marketer. The choice became very simple, especially when you're making good money. what did I want to do? Did I want to continue to build on the 5-figure months of what I was doing with marketing? Or do I want to table that and focus more on doing stand-up, which is going to be another year for when people actually start looking at me with some level of seriousness, and another 5 after that when I'm considered not new anymore and the actual path to becoming a pro becomes crystallized. It was a very easy decision to make logically, but emotionally it took some time. And every time I tell people that I quit stand-up and we talk about my history and my background, maybe I show them a set or two, or I tell them some jokes, or we talk a bit more, they always ask me, like, why did you quit? Like, it must have been so much fun. It must have been something that gave your soul so much joy and light and fire. And it did. It really, really did. But the greatest performers in the world are not the ones who stick it through no matter what. They're the ones who quit the games that need to be quit. There's this great book by Seth Godin. It's called The Dip. It's like 70 pages. It's super fucking easy to read. You can get it done in like an hour. And he talks about this at length. At length, it's 70 pages. Not at that much length, but somewhat of length. But he talks about how the greatest people in the world or the greatest performers in the world, the people who get paid the most to do what they do, are the ones who quit the dead ends, the ones who quit the paths that aren't worth it. If the result at the end of the tunnel is not worth the dip, I'm struggling to describe what the dip is. The dip is basically the grind. When you start something, you're not very good at it, you do it a bunch, and you're trying to get better, and even though your effort's high, the results and proof aren't congruent with it. If you can stick through that dip, the result at the end of the tunnel needs to be worth it. If you can future pace and look ahead to where you're going, and the result is not worth it to go through that grind, stop doing it. And that's what I had to do with stand-up. So to relate this to your journey, to relate this to what you're doing in business, with your content, with your marketing, with how your business is structured, look at the current state you're in. Where do you want to go? And without needing to commit to it, without, like if I say, hey, for example, 10x your client base in your head, what does that look like? Without telling me, I don't want to do that, just do the fucking thought experiment and figure out what it would look like in your business to serve those 10x client base. If you had to look at where you really want to go, what is the end goal for you? What is the absolute peak condition? What does your business look like? What does your day-to-day look like? What does your content production look like? How do you want to talk? How do you want to show up? Do you want to spend more time with clients? Do you want to be running ads? Do you want to be setting DMs? Do you want to be getting on sales calls? What do you want to do? Get really, really, really crystal clear on that. And then look at your current situation. What has to fall away in order for you to build the thing that you want to build? And then let the things that do not serve that highest purpose fall away. There are some things that might serve a purpose for another couple months. There are some things that might serve a purpose for another year. There are some things that need to be gotten rid of right now. Make a list of what that is. And then actually be willing to part with the things that aren't going to get you to where you want to go. If you're not living in the city that's going to allow you to fulfill your ultimate dream, you're like, yeah, I want time freedom. I want to be living in some place that's tropical. I want to be living in a place that's always warm, but I live in fucking Siberia. Understand you're going to have to part with living in Siberia. That's the letting go portion. The second portion is you might start to go backwards. When you commit to going on a certain path and you're more selective with what you do, maybe it's you delegate tasks to an assistant, or you automate things, or you hire a team member, or you're committed to having more time and location freedom, so you leave your city, or you start spending more time abroad, or you start speaking your mind in your social media content. You start making time for the things that allow for the ultimate transformation to happen, and you start living as if that is happening right now. You start going backwards in some ways. Some people would say this isn't true. I think it's true. God, the universe, starts to test you a bit when you start taking steps to the path of your highest self. And it's a way of asking you, like, are you really committed to this? Because if you say it's what you want and you only do it on the days where you feel like it, or you only do it on the days where it's easy to do them, it's not going to stick. And that doesn't mean you gotta headbutt the wall and push yourself hard and grind and struggle, and it needs to be this massive journey of suffering and hating things. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, can you commit to staying in that frequency? Can you commit to staying in that vibration and giving yourself love even when you get triggered, even if things aren't looking like they're falling in place for you 100% of the time? I've gotten sick multiple times on the path to playing bigger. I've gotten sick multiple times when I realized I was playing small. There was this one moment It was a year ago now from filming. My wife and I were hanging out. She was visiting me in Vancouver. We did some mushrooms, and we were just sitting on the couch, hanging out, talking, and I had this realization. It's almost as if God just placed this in my head. And I realized with my agency that I had at the moment and with the job that I was working, I'm playing so small. I'm playing so small, and I'm hiding behind what other people are doing because I'm afraid to really say what I think. I'm afraid to really build what I want. I was hiding behind this offer, behind this agency model, which is what other people told me was a good idea, with what other people told me was prudent. You shouldn't do coaching till you're at 100K a month, and I believed that. So my reality reflected that. I was hiding behind this other job because it was safe. It was paying me. It helped me make progress on my debt and keep higher profit margins, even though I hated the job and I thought it was unethical. So when I realized I was playing small, I felt my throat chakra just open up. It was so beautiful. And I was like, yeah, I'm on the path of my highest self now. And a couple days later, I was so fucking sick. I got the worst strep throat. It looked like black mold was growing in my throat. It was terrible. And the level of sickness I felt was greater than, it was some of the sickest I've ever been in my life. Like, I was shivering all day. I had aches and pains. I had like multiple sweaters on, multiple blankets. I was lying in bed for most of the day, and I was still shivering, still freezing cold. I'd pound ibuprofen, and then my body temperature would start to even out, and I'd get super hot because I was under all these blankets all day. I'd try to warm up in the hot shower for like an hour, and I had to go to the hospital. I couldn't like inner work my way out of this one. It was great for teaching me lessons. I got some major breakthroughs just from sitting with it and asking it questions like, why are you here? What's going on? What are you trying to tell me? There were some amazing takeaways that I don't need to get into. The video will just get too long. I'll go way off the board with them. But I learned so much about myself, but eventually I had to go to the hospital. I had to take antibiotics. And then I had an adverse reaction to the antibiotics, and I was in the hospital again. It was an entire process of like learning to love myself and stay present in the moments that weren't as glamorous as a way of committing to this new path of not playing small. If I think about this sickness I felt in my throat and I look back on my life, how many times did I hold my tongue? How many times did I not say what I really thought? How many times did I not show up authentically? How many times did I perform? Did I feel like I had to do something? I feel like I had to say something. I feel like I had to hide behind some job or doing stand-up or some type of joke or some type of ideal of who I thought I should be. I wasn't being honest. I wasn't being truthful. I wasn't speaking the truth that I had actually come to in my own body. I wasn't honoring my own inherent wisdom. So of course I got sick. My body was ready to release all that, but there had been, at least 2 decades, this is last year, so I was 26, I think, 2.5 decades plus of moments of me not living true to who I was, 2.5 decades plus of me suppressing my actual opinions, of me suppressing my own unique essence, of me suppressing my soul. When you do that for long enough and you finally release it, you can get sick. I literally I recovered from back pain this week. I had it all last week. I couldn't stand up properly. I was like if this is me straight up, I was like this. And the week before, I experienced major back pain towards the end of the week. So it was like 10 to 14 days of just really intense back pain. And the reason it happened is because I was on a retreat in the first week of April, last week of March. And on that retreat, I released some incredible emotions and a lot of stories about who I am in relation to groups of men and who I am in relation to groups of men with an intention. So in the past, it was basketball teams and businesses and working for certain groups and working for certain companies. And now it was who I am in relation to these men on this retreat. And I realized how many limiting beliefs I was hanging on to. I realized how much anger I had been holding on to. I realized how much I had been clenching and how much I had been creating these narratives that just didn't serve who I want to be now. They served a purpose at the moment. They served a purpose when I was a kid. They served a purpose when I was a teenager, when I was a young adult, because it was my body's way of keeping me safe. But as soon as I recognized this long history of me hanging on to this resentment and bitterness, and I was actually able to release it in a real way, my back started fucking killing me. And it was a very specific pain that I remember from an injury I had 10 years ago. It was a very vivid moment of, I got hurt playing basketball, and I remember internalizing so much hatred and bitterness and anger towards my teammates. It was when I was playing in college. It was a very specific injury. My teammate kneed me in the back. And so when I was ready to release all of it, my body responded. And that specific acute injury, it's not like a more numb, dull lower back pain that just comes from squatting too much and you didn't warm up properly. No, it was sharp and I couldn't stand up properly. I was crooked. That's exactly what I went through 10 years ago. And it was so interesting to see that injury resurface in the present moment. It was so interesting to see my body finally release, and I got sick. And now I have to, do physical therapy. I went to acupuncture, I went to cupping. Those things are all necessary. Just like when my throat chakra opened up, I went and I got antibiotics because that's what the moment called for. Your body holds so much wisdom. And so you need to be willing to let go of things, and you need to be willing to move backwards. You need to be willing to let your body release what you've been hanging onto. And that doesn't always look like an upward linear trajectory. If you zoom out, it will, because this little dip goes upwards eventually when you stay on this path. But you cannot be afraid of that, and you have to learn to love yourself in those moments. Playing big and learning to stop minimizing yourself comes with a lot of responsibility of honoring your body, honoring what you've been through, and processing those emotions that your body had stored for years because you didn't know what to do with them. Your body was trying to keep you safe. Your unconscious mind was trying to keep you safe. That's okay. So when the moment comes, when those feelings come back, when the moment comes when it's time to process them because you're ready, because you feel safe to, honor that. Don't run away from it. Stay present with it. It's super, super crucial. This brings us beautifully to point number 2. You need to learn how to cultivate safety at any point in time, no matter what the external factors are. Emotional safety is so crucial for actually being able to hold larger amounts of wealth, larger amounts of attention, larger amounts of success. Most people don't understand the gravity of a psychocybernetic system. A cybernetic system is something that keeps an object within a certain range. There's certain parameters that the object can go within and it doesn't exit. So a thermostat is a cybernetic system. No matter what happens, the house temperature stays at a certain level. Autopilot on a plane is another example of that. No matter what happens, the autopilot keeps the plane within a certain set of parameters. You have a psychocybernetic system. So you have a financial thermostat. You have a thermostat for every area of your life. Relationships, money, business, success, content, all of it. If you don't understand what those parameters are, anytime you leave them, your unconscious mind will do everything it can to get you back within homeostasis. So if you have a great month and jump above what you're used to, your body will feel unsafe and it will pull you back down. If you dip below, your body will feel unsafe. You'll hustle back to get within that parameter. This is why spending time alone and not being stimulated is so, so crucial. Your body gives you signals when you feel unsafe. Your body gives you signals as to what emotions are really present. You just have to learn how to listen to them. This highlights the importance of things like meditation, sitting in stillness, breath work, journaling. The more you can cultivate a relationship to what you're going inside, the better. Meditation is great because it teaches you mindfulness. It teaches you how to sit in stillness and focus on your breath and allow what arises to arise. Breathwork is great because it is a very tangible way to regulate your nervous system. Something I do every day, multiple times a day, is heart-brain coherence breathing. Take your hand, put it on your heart, and you're going to breathe in for 5, out for 5. You're going to imagine a ball of light in your heart growing as you breathe. White ball of light, breathe into your heart, feel from your heart. Feel love, feel gratitude, feel compassion. This is scientifically proven to sync your brainwaves and your heartbeat, which puts you into a rest and digest state. This parasympathetic state allows you to consciously condition your unconscious mind. Things like affirmations will not work if you're in a fight or flight state, if you're stressed, if you're clenching, if your cortisol's high. Putting yourself in situations where you feel unsafe and breathing into it, stopping, noticing the sensations in your body are great ways to expand your nervous system and feel safe so that you can actually increase your capacity. You can increase your capacity to earn more. You can increase your capacity to hold space for yourself, to hold space for other people, your clients, your wife, whoever, the money that's coming in, the success that's coming in, the views that are coming in. Understanding that feeling safe is so crucial to every area of your life, and how much success you create in those areas will drastically change your life for the better. Having a consistent practice is key because the safer you feel, the easier it is to attract the things you really want. Everything is made up of energy. Everything is made of tiny vibrating atoms, which means the things that you want in life, your dream wife, your dream clients, your dream business model, your 100K a month, has a certain vibration. It has a certain frequency. It has a certain energetic state. If you are not in the same energetic state, you cannot attract it. A lot of spiritual coaches and gurus online will tell you you need to act as if it's already here. You can't do that if you're not in the energetic state of the thing you desire. And you can't get in an energetic state that you consciously choose if you're in fight or flight. Something I've done outside of breath work, outside of meditation, outside of journaling, outside of sitting in stillness is I went to the beach and I sprinted when there were a lot of people around. There was space, like I wasn't running all over people, obviously, but I felt scared initially because I'm like, I don't want people to see me sprint. What if they make fun of my form? What if I'm not that fast? Like, what if they think I'm stupid? They're all trying to relax. Me doing that and being willing to sit with the sensations in my body and being willing to give myself love and to breathe through it and to see that I'm not in danger, it's fine, literally nobody gave a fuck, and if they did, I'm just running, it's not a big deal, helped me expand my nervous system and actually feel safe in different situations. It was something that made a meaningful difference for me. Point number 3, this is very specific to something we talked about on point number 2, collect inventory of what you really think. Get a deep awareness of what is in your unconscious mind and what is stored in your body through stream of consciousness journaling. You cannot change thoughts you are not aware of. You cannot replace limiting beliefs you do not know are there. And so how do you know what's there? How do you really get to the root of the cause? If the unconscious mind is unconscious, how do you even know what's in there? Here's how. Get a timer, put 30 minutes on, put your phone on airplane mode, turn it over, put it out of arm's reach, and start writing in a journal. Don't think, just write. It sounds simple, and most people don't want to do it. I didn't want to do it when I started, but it will reveal some incredible things about you that you didn't know were there. If you go for a long enough period of time, if you just really let yourself develop a flow state and go at it, you will start unearthing things that you have not thought about in years, that you didn't even know were there, and you will learn so much more about yourself. The first step to changing, the first step to consciously programming yourself, the first step to creating a life that you really love is awareness. You can't build upon a messy foundation. You can't build upon a foundation of lack and scarcity, so you need to excavate first. You need to see what's really under the hood, and then you can work on changing it. You can work on conditioning yourself, and then you start building on top of that sturdy, strong foundation. Thing number 4, you need to detach from how the process unfolds. You need to be willing for things to look differently than how you maybe anticipated them. Focus on the why, focus on the what, do not focus on the how. Earlier in this video, I talked about my stand-up comedy career. For a long time, I thought that was my life's calling. I was like, I found it. Yes, this is it. I'm supposed to be a comedian. I'm supposed to be a podcaster. I'm supposed to make people laugh and bring them together under this shared interest. And that's what I thought with the awareness that I had. I was doing the best I could at the time, and that was a thing that I felt was the deepest emotional motivator for myself. As time went on, as I did more work, as I built more awareness, as I had different lived experiences, and I started getting deeper into comedy and marketing and personal development and travel, I realized that wasn't the case, and I needed to quit stand-up. And as difficult as that was for me, it wasn't nearly as difficult as quitting the level after stand-up that I also thought was the final destination, and I've figured it out again. I started my marketing agency over 3 years ago now because it's all I knew. I had worked for multiple agencies before. I had done for you content marketing work for clients. I got pretty good results, and so instead of sitting and figuring out what do I really want to do, I panicked because I didn't want to move back to Winnipeg, and in my mind there were only 2 options: stay in Toronto or move back to Winnipeg. Either sit and grind and work, or call it a day and go home and check back in with my parents and lick my wounds for a bit, and then, to figure out what I'm going to do from there. And I really didn't want to go back to Winnipeg, so keep in mind, that was my number 1 driving force. I hated Winnipeg, I didn't want to go back. So I worked as hard as I could and busted my ass to build my agency. I built it to multiple 6 figures, but it was also a tumultuous journey. I had really high highs. I made 56K Canadian in a single month. I didn't take all of it home. I took home about, 35 or 36. And then I also accumulated 50K worth of debt. And when I started learning how to take care of myself in early, mid 2024, around February, March, that's early, I guess, not mid. And I started giving myself what I needed and taking care of my emotions and doing more inner work on a deeper level and doing more breath work, and started fasting more and going on retreats and meditating and journaling seriously. I think February 13th, 2024 was when I started journaling. Journaling and meditating is like 785 days in a row at the day of this filming. 785 days in a row. I didn't say that very clearly. But when I started to do that work on a more deep level, I always had this thought in the back of my mind of, okay, when I'm done like being a hippie, like when I'm done taking care of myself, when I'm done doing what I should be doing, then it's time to go back and work on my agency. Then it's time to start grinding again. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm a fucking G, like I know this shit. And that never really happened. Like I take time for myself, stare at the ceiling, sit on my couch, fast, meditate, journal, read, do stream of consciousness, do breath work, go on retreats, and I take care of myself, and I'd create these massive shifts, and I'd build this massive body of work that showed me, hey, I'm capable of making incredible changes in my life. I'm making this massive transformation. And I'd be like, okay, it's time to work on my agency now. I worked on myself enough. It's been 3 or 4 months. And then I'd go and sit down and work on my agency. I'd be like, nah, this is fucking stupid. I don't want to work on this. I want to keep doing the inner work stuff. So I keep doing the inner work stuff, and I'd, spend more time with friends and learn how to have fun and learn how to loosen up and actually enjoy myself and not always clench. I'd be like, okay, it's another 2 months of this. Okay, now it's time to work on my agency. And I'd be like, nah, fuck, this is stupid. I'm going to keep like doing inner work and stuff. It took me such a long time to realize I didn't want to do my agency, even though the evidence was right there in front of me. Because in my mind, I had been conditioned to believe that if I don't get my agency to 100K a month, who would buy coaching from me? I can't be a coach. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I love the coaches that I've worked with. Like the people who I took this from, I have no beef against them. This is not a slight against. This is just what I took and how it was different from what I really wanted. I even saw this from people who I didn't get coached by. They're like, coaching is such a scam. Everybody becomes a coach because it's for higher profit margins, and it's, they're just trying to scale quicker and make more money and not have as big an impact. And I always internalized that. But when I actually sat down to think about it, I like coaching more than I like doing agency work. I like coaching more than I like being a freelancer, than I like doing done-for-you marketing. I actually don't really like doing done-for-you marketing that much. I'm good at it. I can do it in a certain capacity. It's not a big deal, but I love coaching people. I love advising. I love consulting. I love talking with people and getting paid for my mind, getting paid for my heart, for my soul, rather than getting paid for specific deliverables and outcomes of me doing the work for somebody else. And this has been a theme my entire life. When I was playing basketball, when I played college basketball, I always wanted to be a coach. I had people tell me, like, you'll be a great basketball coach one day. When I talk to my friends, when I talk to my wife, they always say, like, I learned so much from you. Like, I love it when we talk. I love bringing things to you because I learned so much about myself. Until I did more of the inner work that I talked about in the video and like actually was willing to be honest with myself and gave myself the ability to want what I wanted and had the courage to admit what I wanted, I saw like, no, coaching isn't some get rich quick scheme for me. Oh yeah, the guy who coaches, it's a meme. That's okay. It's allowed to be a meme. Other people are allowed to make jokes and have memes of it. That doesn't mean anything about myself. That doesn't mean anything about my work. That doesn't mean anything about who I am. I don't have to take that on. I don't have to subscribe to other people's beliefs. I don't have to subscribe to other people's worldviews about what my career should look like. And so I got honest. I was like, I really want to coach people. And I really want to coach people about marketing and inner work and content. That's stuff that really lights me up. That's stuff that I really love talking about. It gives me so much joy. So I gave myself the permission to do that. And that's everything. You do not have to wait for permission from fucking anybody. Anybody. Not your mom, not your dad, not your girlfriend, not your boyfriend, not your husband, not your wife, not your coach, not the fucking dog who lives down the street. Nobody. You can live the life you've always wanted to live right now in this moment. You just have to give yourself permission. You just have to allow yourself to have the courage to want the things you want without taking on any extra bullshit or stories and dropping limiting beliefs and dropping the other BS that other people have put on you. Unlearn all the shit that doesn't get you to where you want to go and act as if it's already here. I was so wrapped up in my marketing career needing to look a certain way because I had internalized the conditioning from other people that I needed to make 100K a month with my agency before I had a shred of proof and competency for people to actually buy coaching from me. And now I'm selling coaching and it's fine. And I'm almost at the point of what I got paid monthly from my last marketing agency job that I was working. The last contract I had was $7K a month American. As of this filming, I'm at 6,300 American on the month of April. It's like been 8 or 9 days so far. I can't remember if it's the 8th or the 9th right now. Who fucking cares? That's so monumental. That's such a big win. There were times where I was thinking of selling the community, thinking of selling one-to-one, and I was freaking out. I'm like, who would buy this from me? Who's even gonna want to have me coach them? How am I gonna make money? And now I've almost replaced that income. It was 7K a month. It was more. It was like 11K a month, and then they slashed everybody's pay almost in half. But the last month that I was working, it was 7K. It was 7,600 actually, because they had bonuses that were late, so they tacked those on. But still, I'm almost at that point. That's incredible, and I always need to give myself a reminder to stop and sit with that and really take that in of how beautiful and how amazing that is. This is on my own. I'm not relying on a boss anymore. And so I want you to reflect on this, and I want you to think about this in your own journey. What preconceived notions do I have about the path I'm on? What preconceived notions do I have about what I'm trying to do that's actually getting in the way of me living to my highest self? That's getting in the path, that's getting in the way of me achieving the goals that I really want. In December 2024, when I was running my agency, I remember thinking like, hey, I've spent basically this entire year doing inner work. I'm ready to finally start working on my agency again. And I tuned in and asked my body, like, what do I really need? And like sat with it. And what I learned was I needed to learn how to have fun, because having fun is a skill just like anything. And I had never learned how to have that skill on my own. I was always listening to what other people were saying. I didn't have enough courage to listen to my own wisdom. And so instead of working on my agency more and like really buckling in and doing more outreach, I booked a 2-month trip to Europe, to Asia, to Australia. And it was the best thing I did. Yeah, it took my debt from like 35K to 50K. Who gives a fuck? I met my wife. I learned to finally stop doing things I don't want to do. I learned to separate myself from a job that I didn't like doing, I found unethical, and wasn't giving me anything. I spent time in places that actually reignited my love for traveling and helped me see that I'm safe no matter where I go in this world. I built a healthy relationship to something that I've always wanted for myself, location freedom. I built a relationship to the woman I'm now married to. I learned so many skills on that trip that are not business strategy or marketing or whatever fucking business guru will tell you to grow your business and get 10 billion views in the next 45 seconds, that have actually moved the needle in a real way for me without having to hyper focus on building my business. If you're trying to build an audience and grow your business with content, people want to be around people who make them feel good about themselves, good about the world, good about their outlook on the industry. And you cannot do that if you have not spent time cultivating your own energetic state. You cannot do that if you do not look closely at your own conditioning and see how it's helped build the life you currently have. The depth to which you meet yourself is the depth to which you will meet other people and they will meet you. Get to know yourself really fucking well and stop expecting the journey to look a certain way. Detach from the how. It will appear in ways far more beautiful than you ever realize. I did not think that 2-month trip was something I was going to do in like September or October. I did not think that trip would be as revolutionary as it was, and it completely changed my life. Let yourself be surprised. Leave room for serendipity. Leave room for God to surprise you. Thing number 5, look at your triggers as clues, not obstacles. Your triggers are data points as to what you're still hanging on to that's not allowing you to ascend. So the retreat I was on a couple weeks ago, I talked about with my back pain, a funny thing really happened. As I let go of the stories that I'd held on to for years, as I realized that I didn't have to be the person who I've been my entire life, I saw how the beliefs I held in these groups, especially as it pertained to groups of men, were holding me back. It facilitated feelings of jealousy, bitterness, envy, resentment, and I don't have to hold on to those. I don't have to project that onto other people. There's this proverb that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I fully believe in it, but I cannot go together with other people. I cannot build in harmony, in peace, in alignment, in coherence with other people who are on the same journey as me and have the same goals if I'm holding on to these ideas about bitterment and resentment and what other people are doing and how it affects me and how I'm better than them because I care more. Those things can't coexist. I'm so grateful for that back pain. I'm so grateful for that retreat because it showed me areas that I was hanging on to beliefs that do not serve my ultimate goals. It showed me the things I needed to look at in order to ascend to the next level. It showed me the things I needed to see in order to facilitate a deeper transformation. There was this job I worked years ago where I feel like I had grown so much in the time that I worked there. And I complained to my friend, I'm like, man, my boss just doesn't see how much I've changed. He's not seeing me for who I am. He's not giving me any kind of acknowledgement for the positive change I've made and for the transformations I've made. My friend paused and he took a second before he replied to me, do you notice how much you've changed? And are you willing to see and acknowledge yourself? To which I answered, no. So why would other people? Your triggers are the best clues for understanding what's keeping you stuck. Your triggers are the most beautiful data points for showing you what you need to see. Thing number 6, be willing to think exponentially and have much higher goals for yourself. There's 2 parts to this. There's number 1, allowing yourself to have much bigger goals and not judge yourself. And 2, understand what your standards are and what you don't want to compromise on. When I was first talking about moving to Toronto, one of my best friends at the time told me I should go live in York or some shit or live on the outskirts and like slum it and just save as much money as possible because that's the most smart, responsible financial thing to do, which is fucking asinine because my goal wasn't to just slum it out in York. That's not why I wanted to move to Toronto. I wanted to be around the action. I wanted to be where the open mics were. I wanted to be around the other comedians. I wanted to be in an environment that inspired me. I told myself my standard for living in Toronto is I want to live in downtown Toronto. I want to live in a high rise or a mid rise or something. I want to find a 1-bedroom in downtown Toronto without any roommates. And when I was moving to Toronto, it was like February 2021. Yeah, January, February 2021, the middle of COVID. So prices were astronomically low. I found a 1-bedroom for like $1,500 on Wellington Street in Toronto, right next to the CN Tower. It was great. But my friend told me like, yo, you shouldn't do that. It's going to cost more money. Fuck that. My standard was I want to live in Toronto to expand my mind. I want to live in Toronto to expand my inspiration. I'm there to grow. I'm there to expand. I'm saying expand a bunch. I'm there to reach the next level. I'm there to show myself things I cannot get living in Winnipeg. I'm there to really stretch my vision. What the fuck is living in a bedroom in York for like $800 a month going to do for me? And so by getting really clear on my standards and what I was not willing to compromise on, I was able to set far bigger goals for myself. I got much better at stand-up much quicker. I was able to perform on better shows. I got better jobs in marketing. And eventually I, ping-ponged upwards and quit stand-up in order to go all in on marketing. And when I started my agency, a similar process happened. I got fired from my job, and in my mind, I had 2 options: stay and fight and figure it out, or go back to Winnipeg. And so my standard was I'm not willing to go back to Winnipeg. I'm going upwards. I need to have bigger goals for myself. And I kept telling myself, I can get this thing to 10, 20K a month. I can. And that year, I had a month at 56K Canadian total revenue, 42.5K American with the exchange rate. I remember that number because it's the highest number I had, or the highest month I had. But I told myself we're going up from here. We're not compromising on the standards we have for ourselves. I'm not going back to Winnipeg. I need to figure this out. I need to build this agency. And of course, as time went on and I went deeper into my inner practice and I understood my unconscious mind and the patterns I was living out, I realized that the only metric I was using before was money and getting more clients and building a bigger business. And that wasn't leading to a more fulfilled life. So I needed to have a larger scope of what my needs were and figure out what I needed on an emotional level, what I needed on a day-to-day level, what work needed to look like outside of just making more money and shoving more clients into my business in order for me to be fulfilled. So once more, I figured out what my standards were and what I wasn't willing to compromise on. When I decided I was moving to Thailand, I'm clearing my calendar. I cannot have my calendar be full of calls. I need time and space to think. I need time and space to be. I need time and space to sit in silence. And the reason I did that was because I knew that the direction I was facing when I just shut down my agency, when I just quit that job and got another job that allowed me to move to Thailand, was not the direction I wanted to be facing ultimately. I knew I wanted to build a business to 100K a month USD as a coach, consultant, talking about marketing and inner work. I didn't know fully in those words, I didn't have that language yet, but deep down I knew that's what I wanted. And in order to get there, continuing to just fill my calendar with calls was not going to be the thing that allowed me to do that. Because I was willing to think exponentially bigger, because I was willing to give myself permission and allow myself to want to have much higher goals, I got ruthless with the things I didn't want in my life. Calls, just endless work, making more money just to make more money because I was in debt. That wasn't the easiest thing for me to do. At that point, I was $50K in debt. And the money I was making was good, but I was just kind of breaking even, making slight profits every month. I wasn't able to make meaningful progress on my debt until like September of that year. But because I was willing to suspend my disbelief and because I was willing to think bigger, I understood that not paying off as much debt now could lead to major payoffs in the future if I align myself and if I actually put myself in the right direction. Small baby steps in the right direction are much better than sprinting in the wrong one. Some people might have told me I was fucking crazy for not trying to make more progress on my debt. Some people would have told me I was fucking crazy for clearing my calendar and sitting and thinking and pondering and being in stillness and silence given my circumstances. Who cares? I knew what I needed. I knew what my goals were. I knew what my vision was. I knew what I was going for. And I was willing to take the time to give myself what I needed emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, so that I could actually have the energy to put one foot in front of the other and take aligned action. I was really burnt out. I needed time and space to think. Jumping right back into the game to try to make as much money as possible would have done nothing for me. And now with the position I'm in, I'm so grateful. I had the patience and the awareness and the wherewithal to actually give myself what I needed and spend time in stillness to get clear on what I wanted. Give yourself bigger goals. They're easier to achieve because everybody's shooting smaller and trying to hide themselves, and you will reap much bigger rewards on this path to a 10x goal than you do by trying to just play it safe. And finally, thing number 7, have faith in God, have faith in yourself, have faith in the universe that it will all work out the way it needs to. There's a great quote from Einstein. Either all of it's a miracle or none of it's a miracle. If you believe in miracles, if you see them in your life, if you have evidence for them in your life, understand that they're always happening. They're unfolding every single day and every moment. You just need the awareness to look, and you need the willingness to see them for what they are. If you're watching this video, you're on the right path. You're interested in these topics. You're trying to create something bigger than yourself. You have big aspirations. You're willing to give yourself what you need. Take a moment to have gratitude for that. Take a moment to see yourself and to see the progress you're making and to see the path you're on. That's so incredible. It might not look the way you think. It might not happen in the way you think it's going to happen. But if you have deep faith in God, if you believe you're divinely guided, if you believe you're divinely protected, which you are, whether you think you are or not, you know that you can't fail. And when you act as if you can't fail, you align yourself with a frequency that is super magnetic. You cultivate an energetic state that people want to be around, that attracts success, that attracts opportunities, that attracts abundance, that attracts wealth, and you'll be so much better off for it. Thank God, thank yourself, thank the people in your life, thank everything that you currently have for putting you in the position of where you currently are. Everything is unfolding exactly as it has to. It's all aligning exactly as it needs to. And the things that trigger you or the seeming obstacles in your way are showing you things about yourself that are worth looking at. When you understand that and look at everything around you as a beautiful mirror and a beautiful teacher, it opens things up in such a massive way. That's today's video though. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for being here. I had so much fun filming this, and I really appreciate you being here. If you want to see another video about improving your marketing and attracting aligned clients and cultivating an energetic state and frequency that magnetizes people to you, there'll be another video here somewhere on the screen. And I'll see you in the next step. I'll see you in that other video. Oh, and if you want my help with making more money with your video content by creating unique ideas in inner work, come say hi on Instagram. Come say hi on Instagram. It'll be in the description below. There'll be a link there. See you in the next video, or I'll talk to you soon. Peace.